Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Grind. My name is Kelly Johnson, your fun and friendly host. We are on episode 7 of season 2, the very best one yet.
Support for this Daily Grind episode comes from Blake's Seed Base, made with seeds and fruit and free from common allergens. Blake's Seed Base makes snack bars everyone can enjoy. They're insanely delicious and great fuel for your daily grind, so you can #seed your passion. Learn more at blakeseedbase.com/daily20.
If you're a new daily grinder, listen to our pod, or have been grinding with us since season 1, feel free to check out our journey so far and share your feedback with us. Get us on the map, help us grow, share this episode with a friend, and tag them on social. And give us a rating and quick review on Apple. Virtual high five to you in advance. Just before we go live with our special guest of the day, here's our fast fact of the day. So the male player with the most Olympic game medals is Reginald Doherty, that played the sport of tennis. He took part in the games between 1900 and 1908 and won 4 medals. So it's 3 gold and 1 bronze medal it consists of. His last Olympic medal win was at the 1908 London Games, where he won gold in doubles. So tennis champion of the early 1900s, known for best in the tennis world as RF, actually long before Roger Federer was even born. So stay tuned later this week to hear the female player with the most Olympic Games medals in the sport of tennis. There's your fast fact of the day. So keeping it short, let's welcome Rob Mast onto the Daily Grind. Rob is a product manager with a passion for developing innovative sports, outdoor and licensed products, and an avid sports enthusiast. He lives and works in Chicago. So welcome, Rob.
Hello, Daily Grind faithful. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you on the podcast today, Rob. Really excited to talk more about your daily grind and share it with our listeners out in the world. So I guess first and foremost, can you tell our listeners who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Rob Mass. I'm a outdoor sports and outdoor recreational product manager. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Currently, I am a global product manager at Wilson Sporting Goods for recreational rackets. I specialize in professional licensing in pro leagues such as the NBA, NFL, collegiate universities, and the NHL. And yeah, I've been in the licensing game in the sports product realm for the last 10 years, and I love it every day.
Yeah, this is a really cool Daily Grind episode. We have a colleague of mine, actually, coworker at Wilson Sporting Goods, so even better, get to learn more the ins and outs of sports and across sports, not just tennis, or like Rob mentioned, we'll touch a lot on his background throughout the interview. So really excited to learn more about your story, Rob. So I guess first and with your story, Rob, how did you become interested in sports?
So I mean, growing up, I was always interested in sports since day one. I remember the very first time my dad took me to a soccer practice when I was in like preschool. And I've always had a passion for pretty much every sport I ever played. I always considered myself pretty well rounded as an athlete. Especially in my youth, I was always known as the kid that was always pretty good at everything. There wasn't really one sport I really wasn't good at growing up. And so I've always had just a passion for all the games involved. I was particularly really good at soccer, really good at baseball, basketball, football. I played them all, literally. Like played ice hockey, played roller hockey. So I played everything you can possibly think of. What I really hit home for me when it came to sports is when I was in college, honestly. And I basically like told myself when I get out of college, I'm either going to start my own business, help someone start their own business, or work in sports. And right off the bat, I stuck myself in the sports world. A month out of school, I applied to a sporting goods company, which is known as Rawlings Sporting Goods, which is the official baseball of Major League Baseball. When I was in college, actually, I started off as an accounting major. And so coming out for that and just thinking of like what I want to do, I was basically convinced by another student coming out of the library to attend an entrepreneurship seminar coming out of the library. And I remember, I'll never forget this. It was like a Saturday afternoon. He was like a good buddy of mine. We were joking around. He's like, "Hey, man, you should come to this entrepreneurship seminar tonight. It's going to be really cool." And I honestly had no idea what entrepreneurship was, what it was about, what really like does it mean. So we attended that seminar as my sophomore year in college, and it just blew my mind. Like right then and there, I knew that I wanted to be different in terms of business and how I approach business. And I just didn't want to, you know, really study something as generic, quite honestly, as accounting or as finance or as marketing. I wanted to learn all the aspects of business, and I wanted to eventually someday run my own business. And so I actually turned out I was at a university that had one of the top 25 best entrepreneurship departments in the country, which is St. Louis University, which is something you would never consider that school for, but it totally is true. And yeah, I actually, one thing I learned quickly early on, it's a game. This whole entire world of business, it's an entire game of relationships. And so one of the key relationships that I developed early on was actually the president of the entrepreneurship department, whose name is Dr. Jerry Katz. And so I was sitting around in class one day, and my teacher asked all the kids, who wants to work for Mike Matheny and have an internship with Mike Matheny, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, for the entire next year? And every single kid raised their hand in my class. And I'm thinking to myself, I have no shot at getting this internship. And so I ended up signing up, and it turns out only me and my other good buddy were the only two people in the entire class that signed up. So that just shows right there. If you put yourself out there, sometimes stuff works out. And so we became interns for Mike Matheny of the St. Louis Cardinals, and we learned a lot from him. And that's really what introduced me to the sports world, and also Dr. Jerry Katz, who is the president of the entrepreneurship department, because at the time, he was actually the head professor over that internship, and he taught us what he knew.
Wow, that's really great. Awesome, like journey through college, and you mentioned it too. You relationships. That's really key in sporting goods industry, a couple different industries as well, and just being able to take that relationship you had in your entrepreneurship class, and again learn something that was outside the classroom, which is really important too. Yeah, that was my question. Like, how'd you come across like studying business and entrepreneurship? That's really cool. St. Louis University, top 25. I like it. That's really
That's right.
yeah. That's another fun fact on today's episode, so to speak. So yeah,
Number two in health law for those that don't know.
interesting. So you have the business and entrepreneurship. You do the internships. You're still in college. Then, what led you then to work in consumer goods? I guess sports in particular. So then, after the internship, can you walk our listeners through like what happens next? Next, I guess.
So a lot of the same qualities came next, right? And honestly, my daily grind, my real life daily grind really happened the most probably during the next 2 years. So I came out of college, I applied one job, which was a customer service role at Rawlings Sporting Goods. I had the relationship with Rawlings Sporting Goods because I worked on a project with them, with Mike Matheny, developing a patent pending pitching device alongside the Rawlings Sporting Goods creation team. So while working with Mike, I actually got to meet some of the people from Rawlings Sporting Goods. I got to see the office for the very first time. So I had an idea of what the internal business looked like. And so growing up in St. Louis, most kids have no idea that Rawlings Sporting Goods is headquartered in St. Louis, which is like not surprising because honestly, at Rawlings, we could have done a better job of actually like promoting to the local community. But at the same time, I told you, like coming out of school, like that was like on my mind. Either I'm going to own my own business or start my own business, help someone start their own business or work in sports. So finding out that Rawlings was headquartered in my hometown was a huge deal to me. So I decided to apply a month out of school. I interviewed one time. I got the position, and that was the only interview that I ever took, honestly, until like I would say recently within the last like 2 years. So that my interview experience was very limited until then. And so it was mind blowing for me because I entered this whole new world coming out of college. I have full of enthusiasm, full of excitement, ready to change the sporting goods landscape in my mind. And then I land the role of customer service. And I can honestly say learning customer service and taking the time of dealing with people all around the country on a daily basis, having to deal with different personalities, it was one of the most humbling experiences ever in my lifetime. And I don't take it for granted one day. Honestly, with that customer service role, it taught me the internal, basically processing system that we had within Rawlings Sporting Goods in general. So basically, it taught me this processing system that is used across all other functions within the company. And I knew this processing system like the back of my hand. And I was able to learn that so well that it really impacted my career, especially like later down the road in my other positions. And then also, it really taught me people skills because when you're talking to people on a daily basis, you're learning their needs, their temperaments, you're learning their speeds, their language, their lingo, especially from all around the country. It was such a huge and valuable experience for me, taking that going into my career for future development. And so I did that for about 2 years. And then once again, it all came down to me just putting myself out there. So basically, what happened was I met a guy that works probably down the aisle from where I was, and he was the sourcing manager for inflates and sports licensing at Rawlings. And we struck up a friendship. And one time I walked up over to his cubicle and I explained to him like what was going on in my life and explained to him, hey, I'm looking for an apartment. And he said, hey, me too, man. And this guy was 10 years older than me. He worked with me. I didn't really know anyone else in St. Louis at the time, besides like my college friends and family. So I really didn't have too many friends outside of those realms. And I took a chance. I was like, you know what? This is something that's going to be good for me. Like, why don't this guy and I like try to become roommates? And so I put myself out there. I told him where I wanted to live, and it turned out he wanted to live in the same exact place I did. And I moved into an apartment with a coworker who is 10 years older than me.
Quite the experience.
It was.
I can believe it. No, that's really cool. Just again, you mentioned people skills, relationships. Putting yourself out there. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable. We've had a similar kind of values and stuff, or similar stories we had with guests on our show before. But yeah, what would you say like? For our listeners out there looking to like break into the sporting goods realm, you have advice for them? You mentioned again, yeah, I mentioned like a few of the skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the time when I was in college, they really didn't have this type of degree at most collegiate universities. But taking the time to major in sports management, when I was at St. Louis University, they didn't even have that as an option, and now today they do. So that's the number one thing I would recommend. I actually, in the past 5 years, have actually taught courses in sports management at Maryville University in St. Louis. So that was something I had the opportunity to do through Rawlings, where they took product managers that worked for the company, and we got to teach back to the kids in the program, and it was super fulfilling. And some of those kids actually became interns within the company, and now they actually have sports related manufacturing jobs today, which is great. And so that's all it takes. It's honestly taking an interest in the particular field and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you were really focused too. Like you knew what you wanted to do, and you had goals coming like mid college and after college too, and you went with them, and here you are today. Now not anymore at Rawlings, but now at Wilson Sporting Goods with me, and you're killing it out there in our tennis division as well. Things are going well. We're going to talk some tennis more later on the pod, obviously. But before we jump into tennis, you've worked with many different leagues. You mentioned in your intro NFL, NBA, NCAA. Can you share like one or two like recent experiences with sports licensing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of crazy. The sports licensing landscape, especially in the United States, has dramatically changed in the last 30 years. The barriers of entry 30 years ago was so easy. A lot of small startup entrepreneur companies could easily attain NFL rights, Major League Baseball rights, NBA rights, because honestly, the manufacturing world was not as small as it is as today in terms of communication. So if you were attaining rights, you actually had like a supply chain usually like behind you, and you had that all set up. Nowadays, because it's so easy for anyone to really like create their own supply chain, the funnel of how many basically companies are able to attain licenses is a lot smaller, because now the leagues, they're wanting to only work with the largest and most prominent partners that are able to supply. They want to make sure their quality of goods is top notch, that the quality is there, it's being sourced at proper locations, and it's not being sourced at sweatshop factories in third world countries. So there's definitely a lot more of a microscope overall in the sports licensing industry. every single year now, the amount of vendors that like work with the NFL or work with the NBA or work with collegiate universities is getting smaller now. And now, not only is it about a game of being prominent in your manufacturing and supply chain base, but it's also about exclusive rights. And so exclusive rights usually, like in the past, have only primarily been part of the apparel world. So you have like the Nikes, the Adidas, the Under Armours. They all have exclusive rights with the leagues in various shapes or forms, whether it's Nike having exclusive rights for NBA basketball jerseys, or Fanatics having exclusive rights for all replica jerseys across pretty much across all four major sports leagues as right now. Now these exclusive rights have really translated into hard goods as well. And so now you're seeing stuff like portable chairs or basketballs or other hard goods being exclusive by vendor, by channel. So a certain company like Nike would actually have exclusive rights for ACC basketballs, for example, and it's only for them in that channel, for in the collegiate space. So yeah, the world of sports licensing is been dramatically shifted, especially in the last 5 years. I would say a lot of that consolidation has happened in the last 5 years. And then also, it's just amazing to see how big these leagues are getting. Even something like the NHL, from a market cap point of view, which is the smallest out of the big four in the United States, is still such a huge powerhouse. It still has mass appeal, and people really relate to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you mentioned NHL. I'm assuming living and going to school in St. Louis, so St. Louis Blues, I'm assuming is your fan fave, and the Cards and all.
I'm not gonna lie. I moved to Chicago about 6 months ago, and there's not a snowflake's chance in you know what that I'm rooting for the Blackhawks here. We're keeping it real.
just checking to make sure. But sports licensing, that's another, like, it's a really cool topic. Again, what you do on your daily grind at work, as well as just studying sports in college, or even teaching students when you were at the university. That's really interesting. Some of the sports coming back, like right now in 2020, some getting delayed to the spring. How does that affect like sports licensing, like the organization or the team?
It's absolutely huge, honestly. Since the pandemic has started, especially like take baseball, for example. Honestly, not even just outside of just regular Major League Baseball licensing, but baseball as a business has taken the biggest hit overall, just because Major League Baseball season really was just starting right when the pandemic happened, and it pretty much has taken the entire course of the pandemic to go through the entire major end of the Major League Baseball season, and the same well as youth baseball and high school baseball. And so it's been huge. I would definitely say probably Major League Baseball and the collegiate space have been hit the hardest. When you think about the collegiate space too, with school closings, these schools make so much money off sports licensing, especially selling their own unique sports licensed goods on their campuses, which they're honestly called college bookstores. So you take most of these large school universities, if most of the students are taking online classes and they're not attending campus and they're attending online classes, even from their dormitories, there's not as many people visiting the campus. There's not as many people hitting up the college bookstores, buying the collegiate goods. There's football games being canceled left and right. So the seasons, like the Big Ten, for instance, which is not going to happen until 2021, it looks like, if there's going to be anything. And so these games are missing out on people buying their favorite collegiate sports teams products, and yeah, that fanfare is just not there, and it's sad to see.
Yeah, you made a really good point. I've been talking to a couple of college students, or just even some of our previous guests on the show. We've had a few students, and just like it's going to either a hybrid model or a remote model. And yeah, if you're not on campus, you're not more likely to stop in to the bookstore to buy all your logoed apparel or gear or supplies. You're just having your books, if it's a print book, shipped to your house of where you're living, or an ebook, which is just directly online. So yeah, you can definitely see how sports licensing plays into the realm of college. Yeah, you mentioned too the youth leagues as well. I feel like in the area there's slow pickup in regards to some of the summer leagues going on, but it's still not to the full extent what it was in 2019 or previous years, for sure. reduced team size. I'm just thinking of like when I used to play on the tennis team in high school, we had like a no cut tennis team, but I don't know if there's a max limit now how many people can be on a team or even in other sports in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And take your University of Wisconsin Badgers, for example. Like, I mean, are you and your family, obviously, you're not going to be giving your usual investment of attending their football games for next year. You're probably not going to be thinking to yourself, hey, let's buy some t-shirts for Christmas. It's almost like out of sight and out of mind. And it's going to be such a huge thing because these schools, so much of their revenue comes off sports licensing and does come off their athletic programs. And it's going to be really interesting to see the outcome and the effects of this. And especially the smaller schools, like what's going to happen to them? Like, are they going to have to downsize their current sports programs? Like kind of like what you're saying. Are they going to, have to cut off the lacrosse team or it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see as we get closer to the year end basically for 2020. Hopefully to end the year sooner than later. I guess on a positive note.
Yeah. Don't worry, America. It's coming back.
It's coming back. Yeah, good thing. I guess it's a good thing I went to the Rose Bowl in January. That was the last in-person football game,
Yeah.
the longest one basically. Any of the bowl
K-
games. Yeah.
KJ got the good life experience out of the way.
Oh, for sure. Got that one out of the way. Who knows if I'll ever be able to get a chance to go back out there, or even just big sporting events in general, and even to myself as a runner. And just being located in Chicago, Rob, the Chicago Marathon. That's a huge event that comes to the city. They had to cancel it, obviously. So because that usually generates like 40,000 people. I was supposed to run Boston Marathon this year. That was like about 30,000 was the running size. So you can just imagine even filling the football stadiums, baseball stadiums, whatever you want to name it. At least we got games going on, which is great. So we got stuff we can watch on TV or in the comfort of our homes or going out to the local restaurant or whatnot with a face mask on. So adhere to the social distancing policies in your area, obviously. But Rob, getting back to sports. So I was a sports fan, enthusiast, working in sports. Do you have any recent stories to share with our listeners, or just like really good throwback memories in regards to being out in the stands or out on the tennis court or
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like how much sports, like, certain themes, like, right? It brings us all together. It's some of our best memories in our lifetimes. It's something that we never forget. One of my best memories is being at Game 6 of the 2011 World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals and the Texas Rangers. And the Cardinals, I want to say, were down 4-2 in the eighth inning, and we literally came back in the ninth inning and won the game 5-4, basically off a walk-off like David Freese home run. And I'll never forget sitting in the stands and seeing that walk-off home run and seeing how many cameras went off at the same time in my face. And that image of like how many flashes and people cheering and screaming their heads off will never leave my memory. I still have the rally towel from that game. I will never throw away that rally towel. It's considered one of the greatest Major League Baseball postseason games in history, and that is so cherishing to me, knowing that I've been there. Sports, it creates moments within our minds. It creates relationships with even further with our friends and family if we share those experiences with them. That's why, like, especially during these times when sports went away for a little while, it was hard for a lot of us because honestly, we use sports as something that gives us comfort and takes us out of our daily routines. It provides a sense of relief to watch these athletes give it their all, and it inspires us to give it our all in our daily lives.
Yeah, really well said there. Yeah, I think I was watching that game, to be honest, a couple years ago. I remember, I think at UW Madison, because obviously I was trying to follow the Brewers, but we didn't make it as far.
Yeah.
I think
Brewers have had some hard times against the Cards in the last 10 years, I must say.
Yeah, we're still working on our grind. But yeah, focusing on
Just
basketball.
grinding out Milwaukee.
Yeah. Milwaukee's making improvements slowly but surely. We'll get there in the sport of baseball. Other sports a little bit better, but yeah. Uh,
America's second best beer town and America's
yeah.
second best baseball
Yeah.
town,
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
it's gonna be interesting too. Just talking on MLB in general, from because I'm from Wisconsin, so a Milwaukee perspective, our ballpark is the Miller Park, and they're switching.
Great field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of licensing, so they're switching from Miller Park to American Family Insurance is gonna be the sponsored, I guess, company for the park. So with having no fans in the stadium this year, and it's like the last year of the contract, it's gonna be interesting how the city reacts, how fan reacts when we are eventually welcomed back into the ballpark. Will it be like a home basically still? Will it feel like Miller Park, or will it be something different? But yeah, you could probably
Yeah.
address too from a St. Louis perspective as well. I didn't want to get into this topic, but since I've only visited St. Louis once, but I wish I remember the back in the days when you did have a football team. So I know it's a touchy subject, but I wanted to hear firsthand since you are a locale from there what your thoughts were, how did fans react, how the community react.
Man, I must say, this is the hot seat question of the day. Like, no joke. Like, especially from a guy that used to work with the league, that, has dealt with NFL officials and employees, that has developed NFL products. It was surreal working on NFL products at the same time when my hometown football team was getting kicked out. And I don't blame it on the league. I really blame it on the owner. And it's just the way it turned out. Ted wanted to take the team to LA, and that was his call. And and I get it. It's a bigger market, but do I really think that St. Louis could really support an NFL team? Absolutely. I do feel like the NFL, in some ways, especially like Roger Goodell, I can't blame it on like the entire NFL. I'm just going to put the blame on him because I'm not a fan of Roger, anyways. But so I could say that. I feel like there's so many podcasts out there that just don't like Roger Goodell. Why not add to the list?
Might as well.
But might as well join the bandwagon. But yeah, I think Goodell could have like defended St. Louis a little bit more, and he never did, and he just let it go. And it is the way it is. And I definitely know right now there's a lot of people in St. Louis who have a huge distaste of NFL football because of that, and they're not watching NFL football because they don't have a team. So yeah, the NFL definitely lost out on the market, but hey, the NFL is a smart business. They took the Rams to the second largest market in the country, and they know it's a basic math game, and there's more people that live in LA and St. Louis. So to them, what's the loss?
Yeah, they look at numbers and stuff. Yeah, it was really unfortunate. I was hoping when I was in town a few years ago, I went for like some leadership conference, and I wanted to like walk around the city and stuff. I was hoping to do a tour, but life goes on, sports goes on. Who knows? You never know. It's only 2020. Things change, teams move, as we've seen over the years. Across sports, new sports are played in the Olympics, things of that nature. Things get brought back. Well, yeah, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. If you told someone from Las Vegas that they're going to get an NFL team 40 years ago, they would have smacked you in the face. It happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anything is possible. Yeah, the daily grind. That's how it got started, basically. So, yeah, moving along in our sports talk. I guess because you moved from St. Louis to Chicago. What advice do you have for our listeners after transitioning to a new city or new job and sticking with the passion for sports? Being able to watch and play and follow them.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, especially because I grew up mainly playing tennis and basketball. Those were the two sports I definitely like know the most about growing up and that I played the most growing up. But I must say, when I got to probably after high school, because I played varsity tennis in high school, I definitely took a huge like time off from playing tennis, just like most late teenager and through your 20 adolescence, I would say. And so I really didn't get back into the tennis world until recently, until full effect, until joining the Wilson team. Primarily, I was only playing tennis over the summertime with my family, especially with my dad. And I would play probably I would say about usually like 5 to 6 times every summer. And so it really wasn't part of my life cycle year round, to be honest. And so when you're moving to a new city, like the number one things you need to do is you need to immerse yourself in your new passion. For me, like it was bringing back tennis into my life, and how does Chicago add to that? And so I started asking people around, like, hey, like what type of tennis leagues there are in the area. I currently am involved in 2 tennis leagues actually. So I signed up for Play Your Court because I just wanted to see what it was like. That's more of a a national wide tennis league where you can join through online, and they have basically courts in, or they have basically leagues set up in most metropolitan areas, just like Chicago. And then also, actually talking to you, I'm not gonna lie, Kelly, you hooked me up, and I'm actually part of the fall program right as of I would say last week for Gladiator Tennis.
Yeah,
So I
let's
actually played
go.
my first match last week.
Nice.
Got rated as a 3.5, which was huge. I was happy about that. And so I'm trying to work my way up to a 4.0 level, but that's more of a local grassroots type of league as well in the Chicago area and also in the St. Louis area. And so it's more of a Midwest thing. But yeah, you just need to stick yourself out there with your passion and meet people. In terms of the city itself, people always ask me like, "How do you like Chicago?" And it's been really hard, honestly, this type of move, just because my wife and I moved here in October. I was getting used to my job, and then the whole situation hit approximately 5 to 4 months later. And so I tell people, well, I really don't know Chicago just fully yet because I've really only been able to explore my own neighborhood. And so, yeah, this whole pandemic has really caused my flow of trying to immerse myself in a new city, meet new friends, meet new people. It's definitely slowed that progress down a lot.
Mhm.
But I definitely have kept my head up high, and I've definitely like been trying to think of ways outside the box. My wife and I started a cooking club actually, and so we were doing that kind of like before this, and that was something else that kind of like got shut down, where it's like a way to like meet new people in the area and meet people through other people. And so yeah, it's been an interesting experience, but I'm very like, happy with the way things are kind of like turning around the horizon here. Sports are coming back, you're watching on TV. People are starting to get a little bit more outside now because the pandemic has like calmed down a lot. And so things are getting better, and you know what? The sun looks bright on the other side, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, same here. Well said, Rob. Yeah, in regard again, relationships and being able to connect with people, ask around, ask questions, talk to people you work with. Explore basically. Look for things that you're interested in and have a good time. I would say in simple words, as to be said. And yeah, you mentioned it. And again, a true daily grinder out there in regards to being able to stick with that passion across cities, across wherever you live.
Yeah, let me say something about relationships real quick. I really firmly believe this with all my heart, but when it comes to relationships, there's really like in success, right? There's 2 types of successful people, right? You have successful people that almost like inherit success, right? Where they, from a power standpoint, they kind of like inherit their power, and it's up to them like whether how that power is promoted throughout their future. How do they handle it, right? And then there's like what I almost call like the daily grinder type of success. And those successful people are the people that really value relationships, but do the little things within the relationships. They really like put themselves out there to the point where someone says to them, like someone says about that person, like, wow, that person is someone I can really depend on and I really admire. When you think of like people like Tony Robbins or like The Rock, especially like those are 2 people I can really think of where they came from nothing. They had nothing given to them. They didn't inherit anything. And they understood the value of a relationship and the little things in life where they could provide those things to people to really make them admire them. And those are the type of people that I really try to focus in life of like trying to surround myself with. I think it's important. Like, I'm a firm believer of the 5 people that you spend the most time in life is really going to be the outcome of you. And so I would say, like, I was very fortunate enough in my life where I've always had 5 really good people around me, and I've always been able to depend on. And that really taught me a lot about life. And I think, having those type of people that really value the little aspects of life and relationships, and give back to you in the little ways. Those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself in life.
great key takeaway on today's episode, Rob. Really fitting in regards to just the two types of relationships. You explained it really well. I hope it sinks in with all of our listeners and their inner drive and motivation to achieve their goals and whatnot. So really well said. But yeah, going back into sports and how relationships work and things of that nature. Talked a little bit on MLB. Transitioning to our hot topic, obviously, of the NBA. So
Oh boy.
yeah. So we're getting there. So can you tell us your thoughts on bringing back NBA in 2020? And I mean, we're in the midst of the playoffs right now, so
So I got to ask you, Kelly, like with the NBA, how about this? Now that Major League Baseball is back, the NHL is back, the NBA is back. The NFL is the only one that's not back out of the Big Four. Have you watched the other three, and like, what are your take on like watching the other three?
Sure. Yeah. Really, really well said. I like the reversal of roles here. So NHL, I know I've been following it very loosely. Just in regards to they changed how the playoff setup is. So with the seeds coming in with the different teams, and you're not, it's not. I don't think it's really well set up in regards to how people got are seeded.
The playoff format.
Yeah, the playoff format. I don't think it was the best fit for this
I
year.
agree. It was a little confusing. It was like, hey, why don't you just come, like, do the usual 1 through 8 and get them in? And it was like, wait, they have to play this team to get into this. Okay, I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to follow. Like, even like I was like looking up stuff online because I'm a big Blues fan, and we were ranked number 1 in our conference going in. But then we had like, like I want to say, what was it, like 8 regular season games, and depending on if we go this and this, we're like now like the 3rd seed. I had no idea what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little lost too, so I just kind of just brushed it off to the side. Unfortunately, or I don't know. I'm a Blackhawks fan, but like I'm not 100% following them because it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the game itself, though? Like, have you watched any games? Have you enjoyed watching games?
Yeah.
Like now with no fans?
I've enjoyed watching games. I think just kind of seeing what's been going on. I think they do have some energy on the rink. It's not. I mean, like a game atmosphere. Everyone's chanting and things of that nature. I don't know if they insert like a fake crowd noise or.
Yeah. What I like about it in like regular NFL or NHL games, you never really see the fans anyways, unless they like go off camera.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like it's pretty much like the same game to me. There's so much like noise from the game itself, whether it's the puck coming off the ice, the sticks, the guys, like the players themselves, the whistles of the refs. So the game hasn't changed that much from that standpoint. I think it's actually been well received. And there's not too much of a difference. And I just find it so interesting now, whether it doesn't matter what sport comes back, but like what are the key things that are different and not different, and how does that really change the way it is now it's post COVID?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really well said there. So I think, like you mentioned before, you don't see when I'm watching it on TV. I don't see the fans unless they do like a half second or a second, shot on some little kid, crying his eyes out or just like cheering insanely. But you could say that for any sport. But yeah, NHL, it's an interesting setting. But yeah, just the seating format was probably the worst thing this year, but they'll probably get a lot of feedback across teams in regards to changing it back to how it used to be. But yeah, going into MLB, a similar thing as well. So MLB, you usually just see the field. You don't really see the fans except the outfield. Obviously, I'm kind of disappointed when you do hit like a foul ball or a home run or things of that nature. It doesn't really. They don't do anything.
It goes like no space.
Yeah, it goes no unless you're at like PNC or the San Francisco or wherever.
That home run went into the bleachers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the cardboard cutout big heads, like they don't.
Yeah.
That's not a replacement.
It's cool that you can buy it, but not cool seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, the format for I think the NL changed the designated hitter. I think that was a really good. I think that's a good. I think they should continue to do that.
I think the biggest thing about watching baseball for me now is you realize, one, how much just silence there is between at bats, because the crowd, more so in baseball than any other sport now after COVID, you now realize that the crowd you hear more than any other sport. That crowd ambience in the background naturally is such a big thing. You hear like the whistles of the people, like hey, and the heckling from people to the umpire. There's just like those little crowd noises that you kind of like just kind of miss and admire that are no longer there.
Mhm.
And it's almost like this. It's almost like the guys are just hanging out in the field, and you're just like waiting for something to happen sometimes,
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Just kind of lulls, or they don't have like the. I mean, you can still hear brief, like when you watch it on TV, you can hear like the walkout intro songs for the players, but like that's the only thing you can hear. I feel bad for like the reporters and the announcers. Some of the, depending on what team you're following, they just like when you listen to them, they just like don't talk about anything. It's just so random conversation.
It's random. Baseball needs to spice it up. I don't know if they need like, when Randy Johnson threw like the pitch that smoked the white dove. Like maybe they should release like 30 white doves like when a guy hits a home run into the sky or something like that
Yeah.
to make it more exciting. I have no idea.
Yeah, bring out the fireworks, or I don't know. Yeah, just be more creative with like, creating some noise around when there's a really big play that's involved. It's kind of been like blah at this time. But I did realize too from the MLB, the like pitching, like they still struggle regardless. If there is fans like they're cheering really loud to strike someone out, or I think it's very mental. I realize it's a very mental game when it comes to performing exceptionally well, whether you're the pitcher or when you're fielding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's 100% true. In some ways, actually, I feel like it's probably harder on the batters than the pitchers because the
Mm-hmm.
pitchers have a lot more time to focus.
Mm-hmm.
Be as it may, though, they're probably still a little like a little. It's harder for them just to get used to not having the fans there because they're so used to it, and like for so many years, they've been used to pitching in front of people, and now it's all of a sudden gone. So that must be hard to get used to for a lot of pitchers out there, I believe. But yeah, the game is definitely like a different game now without the fans because is it more of an advantage for a pitcher or is it not? I think it is, but it's kind of up for debate, right?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, on the batting side, like you just mentioned, like again, lots of like you have to kind of hype yourself up because you don't hear anyone cheering for you when you walk out to bat. So
Wait, so do they have music? Do they have bat music? Like,
yeah,
do the
yeah,
guys like have their pump up bat music?
yeah. They have their pump up back music, but you don't hear like when your name gets announced, like grab Mast, like everyone cheers, the crowd's going wild, but then like there's no crowd going wild, so you just hear like the
So you
the
have
song.
you so you have your WrestleMania theme
Yeah,
music, but you have
yeah,
no one cheering you
no,
on when you come out. That's not
no,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So it's like pretty weird. It's like everyone's a rookie basically if you think about it.
Everyone's-
Uh, but I do like that they still have the walkout music and they have some stuff. You get to see fights here and there, which is nice. So yeah, it's getting a little bit rowdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the MLB for you. NBA, so yeah, NBA. I've been following this the most, obviously, since Milwaukee Bucks are still in the mix. Hopefully to get a title here for our
So
city.
how'd you feel when the Bucks lost game one? Were you nervous? Like, what were you thinking?
I was a little nervous. But to be honest though, I felt like we were gonna lose the first game. Cause like
Yeah.
it was coming from like the Bucks and the Lakers. We clinched the number one seed already, so we've just been kind of playing these like practice games. So like the first
Yeah.
one's your actual game that actually means something for the most part. I could tell we were kind of not our full strength right away. Um,
Right. You had your preseason games and then your 8 regular season games. You guys weren't playing that well, to be honest.
No. I know that in the preseason games they were kind of mixing up the lineup without Giannis in, or just with some of our bench players just to utilize what's the best format. I think that's gonna help, even though it looked like we were playing really awful. But I think that might help us down the road, potentially.
Yeah. I really think for your team to succeed, though, Mr. Chris Middleton has to step up. He has to be like the lights out number two. He can't be this guy that comes in and helps Giannis by scoring like 15 to 16 points. He needs to be the guy that comes in and scores like 22 points a game
Hmm.
and really helps and be his right hand man.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he hasn't been playing the hottest. I'm hoping he gets a little bit. I don't know how many points he had today. I think he had like in the mid teens on today's game against Orlando. The win over Orlando. So we're looking to get one more win to move on to the next round. Obviously, Raptors done. Celtics done. I think Miami Heat plays today, or that or they're currently
Yeah,
playing at the time this episode.
they're about to close out on Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole East has been really interesting. Just the fact that, I mean, the whole East is just one-sided right now in the first round matchups. Like you said, Boston knocked out Philly, and then also the Nets, the Raptors knocked out the Nets, and now Milwaukee's up. I think Milwaukee's playing today. I haven't seen the score actually. So they played.
Oh yeah.
They should have played today.
Yeah, they won. They won.
Oh, they won. So they're up 3-1, right? And then you also have Miami, who also played today. I have no idea if they closed out or not. But the whole East is definitely first round lopsided, and in my opinion, the second round is going to be highly competitive because all four of these teams are currently either won series or are currently leading the series. They're definitely light years ahead of the bottom four teams that just got eliminated or about to be eliminated. And I especially expect the Raptors and Celtics matchup to be like highly contested, as well as the Heat and Bucks matchup. I think both series are going to go 6 or 7 games. It's going to be really interesting to see. And one thing about the NBA playoffs that makes it so weird is that the fact there is no home court advantage. Everyone's on a level playing field. So if you go down 0-2 in the series, it's even harder to get yourself out. It's not like you're just going home to your home crowd and yeah, you can win 2 games easily with your home crowd. If you're down 0-2 early on, it's a bigger advantage for the team that's up 2-0. So it's really going to be interesting to see like these next round matchups in the East. I definitely think that the Boston Raptors series is the one I'm most excited about because I really think I think the Heat Bucks will go 6, but I'd be shocked if Boston and Toronto doesn't go 7, just because I feel like those two teams are more even. I'm picking the Bucks over the Heat, but Boston and Toronto, I think it's a coin flip. I really can't pick a winner. I think both teams are evenly matched, and it's going to comes down to Kyle Lowry's health because he kind of hurt his leg the last game, so we'll see if he's 100%. But that matchup is going to be brutal because those are two of the top most, or actually all 4 teams are great defensive teams. So yeah, the remaining really good defensive teams are pretty much all in the East right now, and it should be really fun to see.
Yeah, East is heating it up, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, it'll be really interesting next round for sure. What about on the West side? The West side's like pretty pretty interesting. We got later tonight, or by this time this episode airs, Lakers against Blazers. Lakers are leading 2-1. They actually again they lost their first round game as well.
Yeah, if the Blazers don't win tonight, it's over. It's Vince Carter. It's over. Like it's Vince Carter like saying to the crowd, "See you. Let's go home." Kenny Smith, take it easy. So the Blazers have to win. I don't think they're going to win. I really think Dame's injury on his off shooting hand is a big deal. It'll be amazing if he comes out tonight and somehow proves me wrong and just overcomes like his injury and just plays lights out, because there's a lot of people right now that are probably not believing in that's going to happen. And there's a lot of NBA beat writers, picking the Lakers to win. But what a story if they if they get another game out of them and they force a game 6 or possibly a game 7. That's my favorite series to watch so far because it is very back and forth. The entire Melo LeBron matchup in the last game in the third quarter was amazing. How those two old timers were just like shooting back and forth and taking it to each other, both being small forwards. Yeah, it's exciting. But the rest of the West seems pretty interesting as well. But who do you think is going to come out of the West? Who do you like?
So originally, before we got into the bubble, I was like, "Oh, Lakers probably gonna make it to the final," or that's what it was pre-COVID. To be honest, like it felt like they just had the momentum going, but now it's totally up for grabs. And then I thought too, once we got to the bubble, or like the first couple of games, just like before the playoffs, is like, oh man, I don't know Lakers if they're gonna make it. Like I was thinking more leaning towards Clippers actually. But now they're tied right now 2-2 against Dallas. So that was pretty wild. The Doncic with the game winner.
Luka Magic, baby.
So I was like, wow, that's pretty wild because he had a what was it, ankle, I think. He sprained his
right ankle and in game 2. Most people thought he wasn't even going to come back or actually he sprained his ankle game 3. Most people didn't think he was going to come back game 4. And he comes back yesterday and played with no Kristaps Porzingis, who everyone thought was going to play, but he turned out he had a knee problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lucas plays the game, and he played lights out, becoming the third player in NBA history to get at least 40 points, over 15 rebounds, and 15 assists in that big of a triple-double. The only other 2 players besides him are Charles Barkley and Oscar Robinson. Fun fact for you people out there. And yeah, he's just a machine. Like I honestly, like when I watched Luka Doncic play, like even the very first season when he was like one of my favorite players to watch last year. And you just got this sense that this guy, there's something magical about him. There's something that he's able to do that no other athletes are able to do, especially from a basketball terms. I honestly like felt like even watching him last year, I know he didn't have the numbers that he does this year, but last year I said to myself watching him, this guy has the makings of being a top 5 player of all time, without a doubt. And these guys only come once every 20 years. And so he's in the likes of like the Magic Johnsons, the Michael Jordans, and LeBrons to me. He literally does everything well in all facets of the game. He passes, he shoots, he rebounds, he plays defense. Yesterday, like honestly, like his defense is known to be like, if there is anything, his biggest weakness. And yesterday, he's playing lights out defense, getting a huge steal at the end of the game, just guarding Kawhi, guarding Paul George, taking that ownership, and he did a great job.
Yeah, he definitely hit the game winner there. He definitely earned it, or his team earned it that game for sure. I think just for I definitely agree what you said. For him, key thing on his just to stay healthy. 'Cause a
Yeah.
lot of times you see younger guys, depending on how much they have on their plate, they could
I've never seen a guy too that strong because like he doesn't look that strong. Like you take someone like Kawhi, who's pretty cut. Like he's probably like what, like 6% body fat, or like LeBron. LeBron's a beast, right? We all know LeBron's like training regimens over the summer and how much money he invests in his body. I'm not gonna lie, Luka kind of looks like me. Like he kind of looks like this dad bod dude. I mean, he doesn't look like he has like 4% body fat. And when he drives the lane, he's so strong. He takes it up and no one blocks his shot and he just gets it in and it's ridiculous. I have no idea like where this guy gets his strength from. He just seems like this average Joe guy from Slovenia that just plays lights out, and it gives us inspiration to all of us other dad bod guys like out there, like myself. It gives us hope. We're excited to watch this guy. We're pumped.
Yeah, I like it. The average show out there, basically. But he's more than the average show, obviously. But yeah, just going forward, on the rest of the side, Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets, Jazz just barely held in with the game winner as well. So I feel like Denver's probably going to close on this one next game, to be honest. And then finally, Houston Rockets and OKC.
Yeah, that's the series I thought was going to be close, and it's nowhere near close. So OKC definitely needs to win today, or else they're going to be down 3-0. And honestly, like Houston is playing the best basketball I've ever seen them play in the last 5 years. And the reason I'm saying that is the Houston Rockets now play defense. It's never happened until now, and the bubble has created it. It's nuts. Like right now, James Harden and his teammates have made a full-on commitment. They're guarding the three-point line. They're guarding the lane. Honestly, I like Houston coming out of the West. I grew up a diehard Rockets fan, and I'm not just saying this to be biased, but basically, I was never a James Harden fan when he joined the Rockets because I never liked his game. I'm always a more of appreciative of team basketball, hard defense. And I felt like ever since he joined the Rockets, that mentality is went out the window. But honestly, this is the best basketball I've ever seen him play in terms of getting his teammates involved, playing the defensive ends. And even with Russell out, they're dominating the Thunder. And so I think they're just so scary coming out of the West because they're not even at full power yet. And I think they're going to be too young and too athletic for the Lakers. I honestly think it's going to be Houston and the Clippers are the teams to beat. The thing I don't like about the Clippers is it's kind of like this mesh of all these really good players that kind of got thrown together this year, and they're trying to make it work. And so they run everything through Kawhi. Paul George has been nowhere to be seen in these playoffs. He's just out of it. Where is he? Like, you know, like you have a better chance of seeing Casper the Ghost at this point compared to Paul George.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't really have an identity as a team because they kind of like give Kawhi the ball and all the rest of them kind of like stand back and watch what Kawhi does. And I feel like they need to like figure out like how they play together as a team and really get everyone involved to really make that championship run. And that's why I think Dallas is actually like tied 2-2 in the series because Luka's passing the ball left and right to everyone, getting everyone involved. They're playing as more of as a team. So yeah, the West, it's really exciting right now. It's interesting to see who's going to come out. I didn't touch on it, but the Utah Denver series, Utah's now up 3-1. It was amazing in the last game. Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray both going off for 50 points each, which is insane. I don't think that's ever happened in a playoff game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Donovan Mitchell also became the third player in NBA history to score multiple 50-point games in a playoff in the playoffs in general, with Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson. I think Utah is going to close it out just because they have more playoff experience right now, and a lot of those Denver players are young and inexperienced, and they just really haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, what's awesome right now is we have great basketball going on. It's on TV. You know, like I'm sure like like have you enjoyed it the last couple of weeks? Like have you caught yourself like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I'm watching sports again. Like this feels so amazing.
Yeah, I agree, Rob. I really enjoy this time of year. I can't believe I'm watching NBA in August, but I like it now, so we'll keep it going. OKC, I'm not sure. I think for on I guess on that half, I think it's either gonna be the winner of the Clippers and Dallas. Whoever wins that, I think is gonna go to the finals against the Bucks. That's my prediction.
Wow. All right, that's prediction. I think Dallas has the team. If Dallas plays consistent defense like they did the other night, they'll win. I mean, they're the best offensive team besides the Rockets in the NBA. It really comes down to if they could play defense because Dallas, they just can't guard the 3-point line worth a lick. That's like their Achilles heel. But yeah, I like those picks. I think that's solid.
We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I guess stay tuned on the basketball court. Moving along into tennis. So we finally got tennis back and up and running for 2020. Right now we have the Western Southern Open just started this past week. So we got some of our big name players on the courts, but on the other side though we have a couple of people like Roger Federer dropping out, being injured, or other people from outside the U.S. not coming over to play in the Western Cincy, basically, or the U.S. Open. I guess, what are your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, let's just I'm just glad tennis is back, and honestly, it's been a joy to watch it again on TV. It's been interesting to see how they produce tennis since it's been back with no fans. Obviously, they allow some people, like the coaches, so some family members in the crowds, and it's been hilarious. Actually, I was watching the Murray Tiafoe match on the Western Open just the other day, and it was crazy the intensity of those two guys because like the first set, like it basically went into a tiebreaker. And even though there's no fans, you can tell like within the players' faces that it doesn't matter. Like this is like one of the most intense things that they're going through. Because tennis, like one thing you can really appreciate about tennis compared to any other sport, it is such more of a self-mental sport than any other sport because you are out there 100% on your own and you cannot rely on anyone else. You don't have any teammates. And so watching that match was really cool to watch just because Tiafoe had such a big lead in the tiebreaker. And you could definitely tell his mentality and his like mental awareness was kind of getting to him. And he was definitely just losing his edge point by point to Murray, even though Murray was not playing well at all. And then Tiafoe just basically just lost it all. He was up pretty much like, I believe, 3 break points or 3 points in the total tiebreaker, and he let Murray come back and win. But yeah, I'm super excited for tennis. I think the U.S. Open is going to be a great opportunity to really bring tennis back full scale.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been really exciting to watch the players and how like they've been like dealing with like their bubble lives now and like what they're doing within the bubble. That's been really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing with Sharapova, like, and how she's like handling like her hotel room in like New York City, and how she was getting outside and like shooting hoops. So with like there's like a basketball hoop close by in the hotel to get some like R&R. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're kind of the U.S. Open's trying to mimic. I guess the U.S. Open stands because right now it's the Western Southern Open is currently being held in New York City on the U.S. Open grounds. So just they're trying to mimic that bubble atmosphere. How the NBA was able to successfully implement that. They only had like whatever 2 or 3 cases out of like 300 plus three. I think 350 players, which is really great. What we saw like earlier this summer. So they're trying to mimic this in a shorter period of time because obviously it's not as many rounds as playoffs. Or as many games, I guess, in the sport of tennis. But yeah, you mentioned it too. They're trying to mimic the. I've seen some photos in regards to just on the grounds, the basketball court. I think they have a mini golf uh,
Yeah,
thing going on.
they're keeping them entertained for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting just not have just players doing stuff off the courts and they're only limited to certain areas, but I'm glad they were able to put on this big global event for the US Open, and then again Roland Garros this fall in France. US Open though, with the no fans, I was surprised they didn't have some virtual fan aspect to it like the NBA has done.
Totally. Like, honestly, I feel like that's the one thing that's kind of missing right now watching tennis is you don't realize that little downtime when the cameras kind of go to the fans and they like point out celebrities and they kind of like go glance over the crowd and you see like the crowd's excitement. It's almost, I really feel in some ways for these commentators in tennis, especially like they're going to have to really think of like new ways to engage us as fans in terms of their commentary to really just because especially during the part when the players are taking their time of in between points, kind of like wiping their face with a towel. Like we don't want to like see like Andy Murray or Novak Djokovic like wipe their face like literally like 80 times throughout a match, right? We only get so much of that. As
Mm-hmm.
much as I would love to see like the sweat dripping off their face and how hard like the match is, there are some moments where like I really don't need to see that much. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, like in terms of the tennis broadcast, like how do they think of ways to produce to really engage us as fans and to take our minds elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the overall commentary, especially during those times.
I think yeah, they just gotta come up with some more interactive things. Maybe there will be more stuff once the U.S. Open starts on August 31st. Maybe they're just kind of teasing us right now with the Western Southern Open. They did put like the covers over the seats to mimic it to look like Cincy,
Yeah.
which was nice.
Have
Um,
you heard anything about any like fake fan ambiance? Like the NBA, like for instance, when you watch an NBA game in the bubble, they actually have fake fan noise. Have you heard anything about tennis doing the same thing?
I have not yet, but yeah, NBA. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in regards to they have the background noise, they have the music going, they
And
have
it
some
helps a
virtual fans.
lot.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I was trying to apply to become a virtual fan. I haven't made it yet, but I mean, there's more weeks to come, so I'll get on there. Maybe I'll, if I get on there, I'll have to like rep the Daily Grind logo or something in the background. Who knows? Uh,
Yeah.
but I do like how the NBA they did it with the virtual fans. They bring in like different celebrities or people in the crowd to also interact, and they talk about it too. Hmm.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, you had like Steph Curry and Aisha Curry and Del Curry and his wife all root for Seth Curry when he played for the Mavericks the other day. Shaq's been on there, rooting for some
Yeah.
teams. Paul Pierce was on there rooting for the Celtics.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I think what other celebrity? I know there was a couple other celebrities that were on there that I'm not thinking of, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a couple others.
Yeah, they even had two. I think I saw one of the Bucks games. They had Benny the Bull, the Chicago's Bull, in the crowd. I was like, oh, he's cheering for the Bucks. All
Benny's
right,
so smart.
right
How does
on.
Benny the Ball get past the background check and you don't? Like, explain that to me. That makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know either. He must
So
have
he's allowed to root for the allowed to root against the Bucks, and you can't even root for the Bucks.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. But we
Yeah,
gotta fix that system.
the game is rigged.
Game is rigged. Relationships. I gotta work on my relationships. Yeah, Western Southern Open. It goes on until this Friday, so feel free to watch on ESPN, ESPN2, they have different coverage, tennis channel, depending on what time of day you tune in. Same thing with the U.S. Open. Yeah, Rob, do you have any predictions? I guess, I mean, U.S. Open, we haven't even released the draws yet or things of that nature, or do you have any end of the year ATP or WTA, how things will shake out?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that a lot more tournaments are going to get consolidated, kind of like what they just did with the Western Open and US Open of combining tournaments. I think it's going to be extremely hard for both the ATP and WTA to go into the new year with the current situation and kind of have like the same travel arrangements for the players. I think they're going to need to consolidate the overall travel for our players a lot more. Um, just like already, like like the NBA is already like going to have the same setup for next year as this year is like the bubble. So they're kind of like making sure they consolidate even for next year. I think tennis has to do the same thing. In terms of like winning the U.S. Open, I'm excited. Like as a Wilson employee, especially our man Tsitsipas has a great chance, especially this year with the field being limited. This is his time to shine. Hey, he just won the ATP Grand Final last year, and this is his time to really crack that first Grand Slam, right? And so hopefully he steps up and gives us a good showing. But I fully expect Novak to be in the finals, and hopefully Tsitsipas is there with him. We'll see. For Novak, it's a big deal because he's still chasing Roger and Novak, or pardon me, Roger, Roger and Rafa. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, exciting tennis. We finally got it up and going. But yeah, tune in. I'm hoping for Serena to break history in regards to getting her whatever 24 number Grand Slams.
That's right. If she's gonna do it, this is probably her best opportunity, hands down. And she's gonna be. I consider her a player that she usually thrives off the fans, but at the same time, there's times when I feel like the fans can kind of like she kind of goes against them in some ways, where she can kind of let them get to her in some ways, even though for the most part she always has fans cheering for her. So there are some times where like I feel like her focus could be a little bit better, and maybe with no fans, like her focus is going to be 100% there, and she's going to be able to like really zone in on her opponent and crush it.
Yeah, really well said. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Hopefully we can get hopefully we can get a US women's player to win the US Open this year. Yeah, men's side obviously rooting for our team Wilson. So
That's right. Great plug there, Kelly.
Yeah, great plug.
In case you didn't know, Daily Grind listeners.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of your daily grind, Rob, so we talked about your daily schedule. What's on your daily grind in the upcoming months later this year?
So for sure, like my daily grind, like I said, I'm playing tennis this fall in the Gladiator Tennis League. So my goal is to do well in that league. I'm gonna be against stiff competition, being probably on the lower end of the 3-5 range, but I'm excited. I'm excited to meet new players and get myself out there. And then honestly, like I've been working out like crazy within my own home, especially within the current situation. I find it so fascinating as like how as human beings during these times, like how are we keeping like ourselves healthy, right? And what are you doing on a daily basis to really take the time for yourself and planning ahead? Because like right now, I've been scouring the internet for weights, for gym sets to put in my basement, especially because I'm not going to be able to work out in my garage in the wintertime. And the gym equipment market is off the chain right now. Like literally, generally, like per pound per weights, it's usually about, I would say, about 50 cents per pound, like when you're trying to buy weights. And now it's about $2 per pound if you're trying to buy like a 50-pound dumbbell. So it's $2. You're shelling out some cash right there. So it's nuts. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, daily schedule, just playing tennis here and there. I joined a low key pickleball league once a week on Mondays.
Yeah. What's like the age range in your pickleball league?
Pickleball league, it actually, well, we brought in a couple of like younger college-ish players. They don't play pickleball in college, but they're currently in college all the way up to I think we have oldest guy is like 40s, 50s. So it's a wide
Really?
body. It's basically like a pickup league. So
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to TVR and my brother Neil for introducing me into this league. So yeah, just playing some pickleball. They had a big tournament over the past weekend, a big doubles
Yeah.
one for prize money and stuff. I ain't playing it,
Whoa. You're
but
playing for prize money for
no,
pickleball?
I didn't. But I just was a observer. I just kind of watched what everyone's doing and just laughed at bad points.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was free entertainment. But yeah, I've just been focusing on tennis a lot. Yeah, just playing tennis here and there when I can when the weather's nice. I'm trying to
How-
run a little bit too. I'm not doing again. The Boston Marathon got canceled. I was trying to do another marathon in Wisconsin in September around the same time, a smaller one, but it's not certified. So I actually chose not to run a marathon. I just paused my training. So now I'm just kind of back to square one, just kind of staying involved, doing a lot of
So,
different.
so what's your workout plan for the wintertime though? Because that's like the real deal. Because we're probably going to still be dealing with COVID. We have limited options to go places still. Like, what's your plan?
Sure, yeah, really great question. So, as a Wisconsin, so I plan to run outside, or I run all year round for the most part outside. I'm a
So you have to buy some serious winter
yeah,
running gear for that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I got just a few layers.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just do shorter
You
distances.
buy like the winter like Adidas tracksuit. Is that what you
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Like, what are you doing these days?
Yeah, I just wear like two hats and like three sweatshirts and leggings, and yeah, you're good to
Okay.
go. And then just like don't slip on ice or anything. Just gotta like work on my balance. I've been trying to do yoga every day, so I think by the time winter hits, I'll be well balanced enough to not slip on the ice.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's always key.
yeah. And then yeah, finally just trying to get a gym membership, and then just again do cross train stuff like spin or work on elliptical, or if the group classes, things of that nature. Utilize the
Yeah.
pool. Try to stay motivated. Again, like Rob mentioned, try to do stuff at home, workouts. Do the best you can, and be
Absolutely.
creative.
But be creative, like research, look online, especially for these times. Like, I'm not saying like you can't like go to the gym. I'm just saying if you go to the gym, definitely be safe. If it was me, try to like look for a place that has a lot of space. Like a lot of those larger health clubs, those are actually probably the better places to go, just because they have a lot more space. They usually have a regulated times for you to go or other members to go, and it's a lot more organized than compared to like a smaller boutique type of club. But yeah, like I definitely think it's imperative more than ever during these times to really take time for your own health and really plan out what you're going to do for these upcoming winter months if you haven't already done so. That's why I'm so focused on it. And then just like with my daily diet, like even now, like my wife and I, we don't even have a kitchen because we're completely remodeling our kitchen ourselves, which is a huge project. And I've learned so much. And without even having a kitchen, we've been basically ordering meal preps. So that's something like if you're busy and you work a lot and you just want to eat healthier, definitely like look into the pre-made meal prep industry and check out what your options are out there, especially during these upcoming winter months. If you just feel like you're going to be working constantly, you're not going to have enough time to do everything. That's something I highly put on the table for you, and definitely is definitely a health benefit for anyone out there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really great idea. Really great takeaway for our listeners out there looking for new ideas, things to stay healthy, stay active, take care of yourself during these times. Really well said. Really motivated to keep on working towards those health goals. But yeah, speaking of motivation, Rob, do you have a word of the day for our listeners out there?
A word of the day.
Hmm. Or
Wow.
yeah.
So if I had to choose a word of a day, pardon me, I can't even say it right now. If I had to choose a word of the day, I would have to come up with the word excellence. And what I mean by that is, and the reason why I choose excellence is it's not something I feel like I've heard that much lately, especially like in the work world. It's like usually you hear like strive for greatness or be the best you can be. But I like the word excellence because it's almost like being perfect. But in life, to me, like it's not about being perfect; it's about striving to be perfect in some ways. And so that's why I choose excellence. Just as you should always try to be perfect, but you have to also know that you're not going to be perfect in everything. So do your best to, give yourself the most excellence in all the things that you do. And yeah, just continue to plow through. You're going to face roadblocks in life, and we all do. And we all have like our own demons and our own personal issues. But when we all take that 1 to 2 seconds of realizing what life is really about and that life is not going to happen in a blink of an eye, that's when we can always finish our goals, or at least plan them out. And so I preach to anyone, like, times are getting better. Like we just talked about how sports are coming back in the market, how, we're all working out again, how we're going into the new year. There's a lot to look forward to, like especially for the rest of 2020. I know 2020 hasn't been the greatest year for a lot of people, but honestly, like you just can't treat this year like it's like it should be already over. There's still 6 or 5 months to go, and there's a lot to do, and you can get so much done in the next 5 months that can impact your life for the rest of your life. So form those relationships, meet those new people, do uncomfortable things, get yourself out there, and just take the time for yourself to make yourself a better person and just to live life to the fullest.
I like it. Really well said, Rob. Excellence. Very fitting with today's episode on the Daily Grind. Yeah, Rob, if listeners have questions, comments, they want to follow you on social, follow you after this podcast, how can they do so?
Yeah, for sure. You can reach me at RobRoy3, no spaces, at Twitter. And then you can also reach me at Mast, MASTRA, the number 3, at Instagram.
Sounds good. We'll put Rob's contact info in today's show notes. Thanks again for tuning in today's episode. A big thank you to Rob for being on our podcast.
Daily Grinders, we have an Instagram giveaway for the month of August. We are partnering with Blake Seabase, and just want to say thank you to our listeners, and for all you discovering our podcast, we are giving away a Blake Seabase snack bar prize pack and a $25 Visa gift card. Head over to our Instagram at KJF Daily Grind to enter the contest.
Ways to find the Daily Grind. Follow us on Instagram at KJF Daily Grind and on Facebook as well. Check out our website at www.kjfwi.org. Feel free to follow your host, Kelly Fast, here on Instagram at Kelly J Lefty or on Twitter at Kelly J Lefty as well. Until next time, my name is Kelly Johnson. Have a great day.
Take it easy, Daily Grinders. Later.